Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fate.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
Give it to you.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you know the big DJ Khaled guy?
Hands thrown up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Pastor.
You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal.
Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jarrell McNeil.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday afternoon edition of the Field of 68 after lunch. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Jeff Goodman with me. We are live right now, Sirius XM Channel 84. That is college sports radio. We are obviously in the XL Center here in beautiful Hartford, Connecticut. Fresh off of watching the number one team in the land, the UConn Huskies, beat Xavier 99-56. My favorite part of today is we are going to sit here and we are going to spend a good 20 to 25 minutes talking about how good UConn is and look at the pain on his face. If you are listening right now on the podcasts or if you're listening on Sirius XM, Jeff Goodman has never been as miserable as he is right now in this very moment. Jeffrey, UConn 99, Xavier 56.
It would be fine if it weren't for you. Like, I like this team. I love this team. I love this coach. I love how he coaches. I just don't like you. So to have to deal with you
that's pretty mean
here when they beat Sean Miller in a game, as Sean said, like, I've never lost a game like this at any level, coaching or playing. He said,
was UConn's second biggest win in the Big East ever.
It was over. I said to you before the game, what I said, we went up and we were hungry because I had to deal with you driving through a snowstorm. So we didn't stop other than for me to go to the bathroom. And then we got here and I said, like, all right, let's go up, get some food. Or you said that. I said, that's fine, but the game might be over by the first TV timeout. And I was kind of joking. It was over by the first TV timeout. Over.
No.
Over.
Xavier hung around until about the 13-minute mark.
It was over. It was an embarrassment. Now, again, Xavier's not very good. And UConn showed that, listen, whether they're 1A or 1B, there are two teams clearly above everybody else right now. Now, again, I would say this. Purdue, to me, has the better resume, and I think you would agree with me. UConn is the better team. UConn is the team that if they went head-to-head and played 1 game, 3 games, 5 games, 7, I'm going to take the UConn Huskies because of a couple different factors. 1, they've been there. They've done that before. Mm-hmm. 2, because I think they're constructed a little bit better. Like, if you watch them, they look like men. They look like men. Donovan Clingan now looks like the Donovan Clingan that we thought we were going to see from the outset this year. He's healthy. We're going to talk to him here in a little bit later in the show, but they just moved the ball. And part of it for me is, honestly, I look at Lance Jones, who didn't shoot it well today but had a good game for Purdue, and I look at Stephen Castle, and I say, Stephen Castle, while he's younger, he's just big, strong, athletic, can guard anybody. Like, you could put him on anybody right now, you know, other than a big, but like any perimeter dude, and he could shut him down. Like, I don't know if I have the same level. And he fits a piece. Well, he's not you're not as reliant on Castle for more than that, right? Like, that's all you need for Castle. He banged a 3 today, and it was like, whoa, okay, if you can do that.
Well, the biggest thing is that it's the size of the guards, right? When you watch Purdue play, and we'll have a longer discussion on like UConn versus Purdue, but Braden Smith is like, what, 6'1", 6'2". Fletcher Loyer is like 6'3", 6'4".
They're like
kind of slender.
They're like $160, 70.
Like Lance Jones is like 6'2", 6'3"-ish, right? Yeah. Steph Castle's 6'6", and a 19-year-old is built like a 25-year-old. Yes. Cam Spencer is 23 years old, 6'3", and he's built like a guy that grew up playing lacrosse, right? Tristan Newton is 6'4", 6'5", and he's not like the biggest and the strongest dude, but he's still a 6'4", 6'5" guard, and he's the little guard in their backcourt in their starting lineup. Like, that's the biggest thing. But I think the most important point that you made was that Clingan was back. And for my money, this is the first time this season that we have seen Donovan Clingan where he has felt fresh, where he has been healthy, where he hasn't been hampered by a foot issue or a toe issue or another foot issue, where he's had his legs under him and where he's been in shape. Like both Hurley and Donovan mentioned that he lost some weight this week, which is like one.
He needed to.
Well, it's crazy that you can like lose that much weight in 1 week. You know what? How Donovan? Give me all the tips, man. I need to figure it out. We know this guy does after spending all this time in Charleston, but he looked lighter on his feet. He looked like he was moving better. And when you get him to the point where he is as dominant guarding pick and rolls and as dominant in drop coverage as he's been, where he is the threat. Like the whole thing about Clingan to me is that when he's healthy, the threat of him changes everything. It's not so much what he does.
Sure.
It's the threat of what he does.
On both ends of the court.
Yes, it's the lob target when you set a ball screen and he's rolling to the rim because you have to – he's the best lob catcher in the country right now.
And they have great guys who know
three
how to throw it.
And three of them.
It's great to be a lob catcher.
Yes.
But, right, when you have Caravan, Spencer, and Newton that all know how to throw it to him,
mm-hmm.
I mean, like you could see there was one play early where Spencer drove. I don't even think he was looking at Clingan. I just think he threw it up there and he kind of saw him out of the corner of his eye. And he's like, this dude's going to go up and get it over Xavier's big.
Put it at the top of the square. No one else is going to get up there, and he's going to find a way to finish it. And then on the defensive end, defensively, he changes everything. Like he told it to us afterwards.
Yeah.
He had 2 blocks. He thinks he deserved a few more than those 2 blocks. But I call him the Great Wall of Bristol, right? I know everyone says Kling Kong. I call him the Great Wall of Bristol because he changes everything around the bucket, and it makes them – that was the knock on UConn when he was gone. We were like, how are they going to guard? How are they going to get stops? People get to the rim whenever they want.
And they were okay in stretches.
But now it doesn't matter if you get to the rim because you got a 7'3" monster down there.
Yes, and he moved well today. That was the one thing to me. There was one play on the baseline. It was like almost like an up and under-ish. I don't even know what he did because we were on the other end. But his mobility, his agility was back, and we really haven't seen that all year. Because, again, this is a kid that wasn't able to practice. Then at the beginning of the year, he comes out when he comes back healthy, and he wasn't the same. He gets hurt again. He's just not right. I think he's finally right. And to be honest, and I didn't ask Danny about this, but I want to, like, how much do you think you need to protect him? Because as good as he looked today, you don't want to push it too hard with Donovan Clingan.
But what did he finish playing, though?
First half box.
Yeah,
so
he only finished playing like 22 or 23 minutes.
But
right?
don't ramp it up. But
here's
just because he looked good tonight.
But if you listen to him afterwards, he said that all we need is Donovan to play like that for 24 or 25 minutes. And if you look at what Adama Sanogo did last year, he only played like 27 or 28 minutes. And the reason why they were so good is because they could switch what they do. And we talked about this after the Creighton game in depth. When you have someone that can play a certain way as a 5-man, and then you bring in someone else that can play a completely different way, and both of those, you're just as good in both of those situations, it makes it so difficult to prepare for and so difficult to deal with as an offense. That's what UConn had last year. That's what they had this year. But listen, we were able to catch up with the 7'3" Kling Kong, the Great Wall of Bristol. We were able to talk with him after the game. 8 rebounds, and what should have been as many as 6 blocks. And now let me welcome on to the field of 68 after dark, fresh off of 18 points and a 43-point win for the number 1 UConn Huskies, Donovan Clingan. Donovan, how you feeling, man?
Feeling good. It was a big-time win today. The guys played great defensive intensity, shared the ball on offense, knocked down big shots, and I'm just happy to be healthy again and on the floor.
Yeah, you mentioned your health. That's the big story for UConn season so far. Where are you at now in terms of getting back? Do you feel like you're back to 100%? You look better out there.
Yeah, I mean, I cut the weight down a little bit, and I've been working on my conditioning a lot. So, I feel like I'm 100% right now, and I haven't felt this well in a really long time.
What are we doing to cut the weight down? Because I got to lose probably 10 or 15 here.
Yeah, just smarter what I'm eating and less snacks.
So you guys had that week off. It was 8 days between the last 2 games. Was it practice reps? Do you feel like you're in better shape right now? Was it getting your wind back? Where you at?
It was a little bit of practice reps, but at the same time, trying to get as many live reps as I can just to get that wind and be able to get up and down the floor, possession after possession, and be able to go long spurts. My first run today is 5 minutes. I haven't seen that since, I don't even know if I saw it this season, with all the soreness, to start the season. And
you didn't grab your shorts once today. No, I was impressed.
I felt great. I could have went another 10 minutes.
So the big question here, what everyone's talking about, the biggest story when it comes to UConn basketball today was you hit a three, right? Do you feel like coach is holding you back? Like, do you need to get more out there? You need to get more reps?
No, I don't think he's holding me back. I feel like it's, a little bit myself and, just trying to get the confidence up. But at the same time, I have to prove to myself and prove to everyone that, I can knock him down. And, the first time, I was at the top of the key, he wasn't guarding me. I handed it off. I pick it popped, and he threw it back to me. He still wouldn't step up, so I was like, all right, it's time. I just let it go.
All right, you need to settle a debate for us. The nickname that I call you is the Great Wall of Bristol, yes. Right? The nickname everyone else calls you is Kling Kong. What's the real Donovan Clingan nickname?
I think it's Kling Kong. I mean, I feel like it goes around a lot more.
Can I keep going with Great Wall of Bristol? That's pretty good, right?
That is a good one. I like that one. That's a new one. Never heard that.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Donovan Clingan, 18 points tonight, fresh off of #1 UConn. Was it 99-56? Second biggest win that UConn's had as a member of the Big East. Kling Kong, the Great Wall of Bristol.
He liked Kling Kong better.
Yeah, he does, and so does Dan Hurley. But I don't care what I'm going with the Great Wall of Bristol.
I like yours.
So here's the question that I have for you: where does this UConn program or this UConn team rank when you compare them to last year's UConn team? And does this group have the same kind of a ceiling, national title, same kind of a ceiling?
It's funny because, again, like Cam Spencer's not Jordan Hawkins, and Hawk was here today. But you know what he is? He's a really reliable college player. And in a way, he can do more than Hawk. His upside isn't the same. He's not going to play probably in the NBA, but he is a hell of a college player, a lot older, a lot more mature, better passer, tough. He's kind of what Danny Hurley needed for this team. Think about it. If they don't get him, think about where this team is right now. They got him late in the portal, and he's been huge. Caravan's obviously a lot better than he was last year. You don't have maybe the depth up front, obviously, with Sanogo and Clingan. It's just not the same with Clingan and Sampson, but they're similar. They're just different. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know which I'd rather have. I think I'd rather have this one because you still have the culture of last year's title with this year's group. So I think that's the difference. Last year, we didn't know. We didn't really feel like, okay, could this group do it, especially after that 6-game skid in the middle of the year. This year, you're like, okay, well, Caravan, Newton, those dudes have done it at a high level and played a ton of minutes last year.
So I think I'd rather have last year's team because I think that there are more game changers.
And Andre Jackson.
Yeah,
obviously.
Andre Jackson was a game changer.
Yes.
Jordan Hawkins was a game changer. Yep. Adama Sanogo was a game changer. And I think that in the role that
you're not blowing out teams like you are with it. Like last year, you blew out teams.
Well, no, I mean they just
no, but this was I'm saying.
No, but like
every team last year in the tournament.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is that I think last year, if things go wrong, there were still 3 guys on that roster that could go out and win a game for you just because they could be the best player in the floor on any given moment. This year, I think that the floor of this group is higher. Like, I don't expect them to have any kind of like any real stinkers, right? Any real games where you're like, wow, that was horrible. But I don't know if they have if they're as matchup proof or if they have as high of a ceiling or if there's a night where you slow them down. I don't know, like what Tristan Newton did at Kansas. I don't know if that's necessarily replicable. So that would be the one thing to me. But at the same time, when they are playing, I don't know how you get them out of what they do. Because if you can get them out of what they do, then I think you have a chance to win. Because I don't know if they have the one guy that could take over a game in the same way. But how do you get them out of what they do? Like that's
it's
the biggest
hard
thing.
Because again, they're just so they play like men, and they make good decisions with the ball for the most part. They move the ball. They know what they're supposed to do out there, and they execute it. And honestly, if somebody does blow it up, they can freelance so well. Like they're capable. It's almost like having coaches out on the floor.
We talk about point guard play, right? We talk about point guard play over and over and over and over and over again on this show, on the Field of 68, on this platform. And they got 3 point guards on their team. And none of them are really like
true point guards. They're not traditional. None of them are.
Yeah. But they're
ball movers.
But Tristan Newton is a guy that you can kind of put in ball screens and let him go make a play. Cam Spencer is a fantastic. He's averaged more than 3 assists every year of his college career. He's in his 5th year, right? Steph Castle is a point guard that can make plays, that can make passes, that can create things when things kind of get stale, right? And then you still got a Sandiara coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So It's very interesting
They're
to
a really
see
good team.
what they can be now
Yeah.
that Donovan Clingan is back and that Donovan Clingan is healthy. But listen, we got to get to a break. On the other side of this, we are going to talk about Purdue. We're going to talk about their win at Rutgers today, and we're going to talk about whether or not we're buying one of those two as the best team in college basketball today. What's going on, guys? Before we get back to the show, I need to let you all know about the Field of 68 Daily, an all-encompassing college basketball newsletter that arrives in your inbox, you guessed it, daily. For less than $1 a week, you'll wake up every morning to more than 1,500 words detailing everything that you need to know to stay up to date on the world of college basketball. From the notable mid-major upsets to the stars that are out injured to the breakout performances that only our team of college basketball junkies watched. The Daily is edited and produced by Mike Miller, who spent more than 2 decades running NBC's digital written content, and is subscribed by more than half of the Division I coaching staffs, the biggest names in college basketball media, and the agents that work as power brokers in the sport. For just $50 for the year, you get access to the same information that the insiders get. And before we get you back to your regularly scheduled Field of 68 content, let me tell you guys about the Field of 68 merch store. Head over to fieldof68.shop for officially branded Field of 68 apparel. Whether you're supporting your favorite team in the student section or from the couch, there is no better way to gear up than the latest from the Field of 68. The best thing I can say about our merch is the quality of the product. Anyone that has ever worn a t-shirt knows how frustrating it is when the neck gets all stretched out and the bottom of the shirt starts looking like the bottom of bell-bottom jeans. And there's nothing worse than a hoodie that loses its snugness that makes it such a perfect way to stay warm during the cold winter weather. Whether you're shopping for yourself or for the college basketball fan in your life, everything you need is at the fieldof68.shop. Welcome back to the Sunday afternoon edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live in Hartford in the XL Center where we just watched UConn beat Xavier 99.
Beat isn't the right word. Don't use the word.
Mollywop.
Mollywop. Dismantle.
Wipe the floor. I'm trying to be. I like Sean. I don't want to make.
But I think he would even be okay with you using mollywop for that one.
I'm surprised you know what mollywop means.
I love mollywop.
I'm proud of you.
It's a great word.
We were able to
I'd
catch
like to
up.
mollywop you.
We were able to catch up with Dan Hurley after the game, and I'll be honest, like the level of personality and humor that you get from him is different than I think a lot of coaches, right? How many coaches, you talk to them more, and there's a lot of guys where they have terrific personalities once you get them away from the cameras, once you get them out of a press conference, once you get them out of the building, whether or not they win or lose. Whereas like Hurley's in there afterwards, like breaking the balls of like Dave Borges, he's a great beat writer. He was at the New Haven Register for a long time.
Great might be a little strong for Dave.
Dave
okay.
Mediocre. We like
mediocre, Dave.
We like Dave around these parts.
Fine.
But he's in there breaking his balls about writing that Donovan Clingan was going to shoot threes in the offseason, right? He's in there making fun of Gavin Keefe for different things. He's in there making fun of you and Phil and everybody in there. And how many coaches? That's not normal, right?
No, the great thing with Dan, and you'll see this in a minute, is you could literally ask him anything, and I will. I have. We won't go back. We don't know. Don't go back to that one. But I'll ask him anything, and he'll go with it. I think, again, he's kind of we gotten rid of – Calhoun was here, not long ago, and Calhoun was elite. But Danny's just different because the times have changed, but Danny's still kind of old school in some ways with a new age way of doing it, right? Old school with he can hold these dudes accountable and coach them up and get into them. But, again, kind of like Bill Self and Izzo, new school enough to be able to put his arms around him. And I said this to you earlier, like Danny's always been this way. Back when I met him at St. Benedict's, at Wagner, at URI, now people are getting a chance to see it at the highest level. Yeah, and the sarcasm, the jokes, you see the Jersey City and the New York mindset kind of come out. There's a lot of that in this interview. Let's get to it. Dan Hurley, UConn head coach. All right, Dan, you just got done with a 43-point win over Sean Miller and Xavier. Sean told us after the game he thinks this team, your team, is better offensively, harder to guard this year than it was last year. Your thoughts?
I mean, who knows? Obviously, there's a lot of season left. We didn't anticipate a game like this today. I mean, those guys, coming in playing really, really well. Top 35 team, Ken Palm, in terms of, their quality at both ends and on the backboard. And, we survived a tough road game there. But I think the potential of this group, especially, again, with Donovan and Steph Castle having not really been healthy together this year, I do think that this group's got great potential. Yeah,
Klingon looked like Kling Kong, and he kind of has lately. I love the nickname. Love it. I'm going to steal it. I'm going to use it over and over. I don't know, is it trademarked to you, or is there somebody else who came up with it and you stole it from them?
I might have stole it from Bill Klingon. I might have stolen, but I did have the Joey California.
That was a good
Joey
one.
California, Joey Calcaterra last year, and he sold some serious shit there.
You didn't make any money off that one.
I didn't get a dime. I mean, and the Calcaterras are great people. But yeah, I mean, I probably do well enough. But the Kling Kong stuff should be. I mean, that's.
Oh, it should go off the charts.
Off the charts.
Right.
I mean, we may get another year out of him just because of that.
NIL. He's been great though. I mean, he finally looked right today, and maybe he has over the last couple of games. But to me, he looks smooth, making a three. We'll talk about that in a minute. How you've held him back.
Yeah, I think. Listen, you go into the year, especially him and Steph, and you got these mock drafts that obviously a lot goes into that, right? There's a lot of agents behind the scenes. There's a lot
of payoffs.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and just for guys like him and Steph to be able to ignore how that's falling for them right now, and just kind of, staying and upholding our culture and being about team and just going out there and playing winning basketball, I think just speaks to the type of people we have. And, I said it while we were going through the stretch without Donovan, man. It's like you could say what you want about his numbers. His impact goes so far beyond the numbers. He is one of the most impactful players in the country. You look at the analytics, unless you're just a moron that doesn't understand how our defense changes, our offense changes, the rebounding changes, when that guy could play 24 minutes, 25 minutes.
So with about 2.5 minutes left, I heard somebody from behind the bench, a woman screaming, yelling, "Hey, coach, put my kid in. Like, what are you doing?" I think she might have even said dumbass.
Yeah.
And then finally you put Andrew Hurley in at 2:05 when you're up 40 points.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was definitely cat calls, from Freddie behind the bench, also known as Andrea. We obviously early in the week with her appearance with Rob, we had a tough conversation that morning about not becoming a distraction for the program, talking shit on the Providence fans again and reliving that, stirring the pot.
She's been in her better behavior though, right?
No, I thought that appearance was that was not her. She, she really toned it down there and played it close to the vest. So, she did a Belichick type of appearance.
I think she's just maturing.
That's not who she is, and she had to have one or two in her in Houston before she went on there last year. That was not my Jersey girl.
All right, so Klingon holding him back. Let's get back to this. All right, this is important here.
Okay, Borg.
He drills a three, and all big he's shown in practice he could step out and shoot him, but he said he's holding himself back. I say you're holding him back. Which is it?
I mean, he hasn't shot well at the foul line.
So if you can't do that, you can't extend.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? But listen, he's never this year. He's such a talented player. You would never hold him back from shooting 1.5. Depending on the circumstances, how we're playing. But really, I mean, he dominated around the rim and the paint, both ends of the court and backboard. So once you've done that now you step into a three later in the game. Yeah, I mean, the same thing with Adama last year. We had no problem with him shooting threes. Like when we see Kalkbrenner, anytime you see people in a drop coverage, we want him to shoot 1.5. If he makes that, then he can shoot another one. If he misses 2, he's probably done for the game.
How much fun is it? It's fun to watch this team, Dan. They play the right way. They're constructed in the right way. They fit. They fit together. They move the ball. They look like adults playing. They're fun. How much fun is it to coach this group?
It's fun, and I just think that we spend a lot of time, I think, just roster construction. I think we hold out, to get the absolute, right piece that fits us, and we don't over-recruit positions and have an unhappy locker room, unhappy bench. I think, we commit to players, and then we put them in the role and to thrive. And I think we got the formula right now, and we got a lot of juice right now. Our program's got a lot of juice and a lot of confidence, and I think we're going to be tough to beat.
What is the last question? This room that you have downstairs, something Andrea said something to Dauster about this room, secret room. What is this room?
It's a secret room. It's not a panic room.
Okay.
Although I would love to turn it into a panic room.
I'm sure you have another room that's a panic room for you.
Yeah, but this has all the stuff I love in it.
Like what? What does it have?
It's got everything. I mean, it's got, it's got the Marvel. It's got a giant, painting of all the Marvel characters. It's got a giant painting of all the DC, superheroes as well. It's got different animal. It's got a tiger rug. It's got a giant great white shark up on the wall. It's got.
Would you describe yourself as strange?
No, it's not strange. That's not strange at all. I start my day in that room, with my prayer, my meditation.
How would you describe yourself? One word to describe Dan Hurley.
You could say championship. I would just say.
Maniacal?
Yeah, I mean maniacal about especially this time of the year. You better have a different energy about you, a different level of focus. A different level of obsession about making sure that you're at your absolute best every day when you walk into your facility, to make sure everyone's energized and moving in the same direction. And if you're just coming in, with no different type of personality, if you don't stand out with what you bring to this job, this is a tough job, because this job's getting tougher every year with the new rules.
All right, we got to go. We risked limb to get here through a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Dauster driving, almost slipped off. There were cars up and down the highway and everything. So
you and Rob are real warriors.
We are road warriors.
It's really inspirational, the toughness to just get here to watch a basketball game in a non-blizzard. So very impressive, guys. And I got to get back to my room now.
All right, go back to your panic room.
Jeff, would you describe yourself as strange?
Absolutely. I fully embrace it. Come on. Hurley, let's go. You are a little bit strange. It's okay to embrace your
Be nice
your
to
weirdness.
my guy. Be nice to my guy.
It's true, though. It's okay.
Yes.
Come on.
He's got a weirdo room. Like, if you got a weirdo room.
If you got a weirdo room, you might as well just embrace. Your wife said you have a weirdo room.
Yeah, well, man, she's not afraid to throw him under the bus, and that's awesome. That is literally my favorite thing about Andrea Hurley. Is she's not afraid. She will throw him under the bus.
Not afraid.
At a second's
notice. I was going to say not afraid.
He's got to tell her before she does interviews. Do not throw me under the bus. Too
only
bad.
With
Don't
us.
make fun of.
I feel like it's only with us though that he really worries about.
So we're the bad influence.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, we got to get into this conversation about Purdue versus UConn here in a little bit, and I think the biggest thing, and we'll get into this more on the other side of the break, but the biggest thing for me is that I think it comes down to the question of how long can anybody survive going up against Zach Edey?
Well, that's exactly. That's the question, right? It's like, because you look at it and you're thinking about it, and you're like, all right, he's going to foul out. I don't care how big Klingon is. He's still going to foul out Donovan Clingan if he's on the court a bunch. Now, today was the first time I watched Donovan Clingan. I'm like, maybe he wouldn't foul out. Maybe he could really stand up to him. I don't know.
No one can stand up to him. But listen, we're going to get into this more here when we get to the other side of this break. Purdue, UConn, who is actually the best team in college basketball and who should be the number one team in college basketball, may not be the same team. As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158. Welcome back. Field of 68 after dark. We are live from Hartford, Connecticut in the XL Center. Rob Dauster, Jeff Goodman, Sirius XM, Channel 84. That is College Sports Radio. We are live on the Field of 68 YouTube channel. Jeff, Purdue 68, Rutgers 60. But I got a fact for you right here.
Okay.
Zach Edey became the sixth player in the history of the Big Ten Conference to score 2,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds. 26-12 tonight for Purdue. The RAC is never an easy place to win.
No,
it's never an easy place to play. And Purdue went in there, and it was
Big
one of those.
Good.
It was
like Big Cliff's athletic. It's not like Rutgers doesn't have a good big.
And it was one of those things where Purdue got up early, and they just kind of held Rutgers at arm's length for the rest of the game. Lance Jones didn't play great. Fletcher Loyer didn't play great.
Shoot it well. No, Lance Jones
doesn't
played well. He didn't shoot it well.
Okay, he didn't shoot it well. Sometimes that. I mean, all right, so give me your takes on Purdue on this win and kind of big picture thoughts on it.
I mean, again, listen, to win at the RAC right now isn't what it's been. And it's not what it's going to be next year when they bring two of the top three players, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, into the program. Okay, so let's face it, it's not something where we're going to look at right now and say, well, that was a hell of a win. Now, again, still you go on the road in a Big Ten game, you can lose that game. So it just shows something that, to me, again, without Lance Jones, and Lance Jones, to me, is still a wild card, a complete wild card shooting the ball. I think he was 1 for 10, 2 for 10, something like that today. And my take with Lance Jones is he scares the hell out of me some days because when he's not making them, he keeps taking them. And I don't like that. I don't like that because, to me, there's other players on Purdue that can take some of those shots, depending on what they are. Now, he's great defensively. He gives them what they need in terms of like a fearless dude who's not afraid to take them. But Braden Smith was good again today. They end up winning really without having too much from Fletcher Loyer or Lance Jones offensively. So that's a good sign. But listen, getting back to what you said about Zach Edey and putting up those numbers career-wise, think of how remarkable that is for a kid that just took up the sport really organized about 6-7 years ago and how much better he's gotten over the course of his career. Like, we forget about that because of his dominance the last year and a half.
He does it every season
night
too.
Now.
Like
every night now.
But it's not just every night because he won National Player of the Year last year and he's going to win National Player of the Year.
And if Trevion Williams was around 2 years ago, I'm not saying he would have won National Player of the Year, but you know what he would have done? He would have put up big numbers.
Yeah, he would have been really good. But the biggest thing to me that stands out when watching him play is that he's so much better this year than he was last year. And last year he was the runaway National Player of the Year, right? Like there's the way that he is moving defensively, the way that he is playing in drop, the way that he is drawing fouls. Like it just he is slowly but surely just continued this pace, this trajectory upwards. And how many guys do that? Like, it's not often that you see someone just keep getting better and better and better and better. And we talked about it a little bit. We teased it. The biggest thing with him is his ability to just completely foul out your entire it's like throwing a grenade into your front line. And so this let's get into the conversation with UConn and Purdue, because I said it the other night with
what's your nickname for Zach Edey? Do you have one?
His nickname is the Big Maple.
Okay, so
That's
the Big Maple against
actually
Kong.
Did you know that there was a little bit of a battle on who should actually be the Big Z?
The Big Z.
And apparently,
you know how long that battle lasted?
Well, the question is who should be called Big Z, because is Zvonimir Ivasic, is he actually Big Z? Is he the first Big Z?
No, he's not the first Big Z.
They found a tweet from 2019 from Zach Edey's mom calling him Big Z. So I think that Zach Edey has officially staked his claim to being the real Big Z.
Zvonimir did it for, I don't know, 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is over. Listen, this debate has been settled. It's over. There's only one Big Z.
All right. So then let's get into the real debate that people actually want to hear.
Yep.
Purdue
Klingon
versus UConn.
Yep.
I want to start with this. Who is the better team? Not the better resume.
UConn.
Not who should be ranked one.
UConn's the better team.
Talk to me why.
I just, again, like I told you, Cam Spencer, Alex Caravan, Tristan Newton, they've all kind of been there, done. They're older, number one. They're bigger. They're stronger. I love Braden Smith, but he's still got to show you something in down the stretch and in the tournament. Now, again, he's not what he was as a freshman. He's so much better. To me, he's probably a top 5. I would take Braden Smith over Tristan Newton. Okay, I would take him. I would take Braden Smith over Tristan Newton. The difference to me is I would take Cam Spencer over Fletcher Lawyer.
Yes.
I would take Alex Caravan over Lance Jones. I would take, obviously, the key is going to be, again, like, can Klingon stand up and stay on the floor against Zach Edey? Now, Zach hasn't seen too many guys like Kling Kong. That's the only thing. Like, he's going to turn around and be like, okay, like, it's not going to be so easy now.
The problem is that what Zach Edey does well kind of goes into the weakness that I don't, and weakness is maybe even too strong of it, but like the strength of Zach Edey is his ability to get position, to hold position, to back you down, because he's 7'4" and 300 pounds.
And you're saying he might not be able to do that against
fantastic shape. I'm saying that is what will work well against Klingon, because if you watch Klingon play, he has a very high center of gravity. Like, he's not someone. Part of the reason why he has some struggle scoring in the post is because when he tries to back you down, it's not like he can't move you, because he's tall and he's thin and he has a high center of gravity. So it's hard for him to get low to get that leverage. And leverage is basically the entirety of Zach Edey's game. It's not the entirety. That's putting it too far. But
I just think
what makes Zach great is his ability to seal and get position. And I'm worried in that specific matchup how much resistance that Klingon and Samson Johnson and Yusuf Samgari and whoever it is will be able to provide. And like, the bottom line is this: Zach Edey is going to get like his 25 and 13,
no matter
what it is.
That's
the
right.
biggest thing is going to be, one, would Klingon be able to make it difficult against them? And two, would he be able to get enough at the other end to maybe get him in foul trouble, to maybe tire him out because of the ball screens that they set?
I also think Klingon isn't going to be nearly as effective, obviously, in the offensive end with those lobs.
Yes, because Zach Edey is great when it comes to drop coverage.
And he can move.
But by the way, we saw what happened tonight. Donovan Kling's a 3-point shooter now.
He's going to step out and start draining threes. I don't see that happening. But
listen, let me ask you.
It's not that. It's again, I keep going back to it. It's my trust in Spencer and Caravan.
Well,
does that make sense? And Castle,
100%.
And Castle,
well, 100%. So here's my question.
That trio, man.
Here's my question.
They're scary.
So let's put away like the easy. The question I'm going to ask you is an easy narrative answer, right? Who is more likely to get picked off by somebody else before they get to the Final Four? And the easy narrative is like, one team lost in the first round last year, one team won the national title last year. But this season, do you think it's Purdue that you would be more worried about heading in?
Hell
if
yeah.
you could get rid of like the mental, I know you can't do it, but if you get rid of the mental part of it, and let's just talk about what's happening on a basketball court. Is it still Purdue?
Yeah, I just like the look of this team better. I physically, I look at them and I'm like, mentally, I look at them and I'm like, all right, there aren't any issues. Listen, those are two of the best coaches in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We know, I think we're on the same wavelength when it comes to Matt Painter. But Dan Hurley's put himself at a level that few are at right now.
What's amazing about it?
How quickly that narrative has changed for Dan Hurley. 2 years ago, what was he?
He could never win a close game. He choked in the NCAA tournament. All he does is get teams.
He was like a year away from being on the hot seat.
We talked with Andrea about this on the Top Dogs pod. Like, they thought that they were getting fired in January last year. Like, he was like, it's done. Like, we're done. We're going to get fired.
Amazing. She really talked about that.
She talked about that. That's what they thought.
Watch the Top Dogs podcast.
That's what they thought.
I haven't watched it
yet
because
here's what's wild.
I can't see him any more than I already see him. But if that's true,
no. But I actually want your thoughts. I actually want your thoughts on this because there was a point where Brett Just, who is Dan Hurley's agent, called Andrea. Andrea is like the go-between. Like, no one goes to Dan
because you don't want to.
But hold on, no.
You don't want to.
Listen, so he called her and was like, "You need to tell." This was at the end of January when things were getting bad, and he was like, "You need to tell him to stop." Because he is going to do something that is going to ruin what you have built and where you are going in this trajectory. And she was like, it can't be me. You have to do it. So he called him up and basically cussed out Hurley, right? And they had that and then she said that they had that heart-to-heart moment where they were kind of like, all right, we've got to figure this out. Like, we can't do this anymore. And that's when it changed and that's when it flipped. Would you have expected that? Did you think that was something that you could see from Hurley? If I would have told you this January 20th of last year.
But I tried it in December.
You did.
Remember?
You did.
And we didn't talk from December, January, February, March. Because, again, I did call him out publicly for, how he was with the officials. And again, part of that was I thought it gets him in a place where he is not focused on the right things. And I think he admitted that going into the NCAA tournament last year, that he was just all hell bent on consumed by how the officials were out to get him. And he's still obviously, listen, he can still be a maniac on the court with the officials, with just his passion, his intensity. And I still think at times he needs to tone that down, but that makes him who he is. Yep. That drives him. Without that, I think he'd be the first to admit he's not the coach that he is.
So the obvious next question is, the narrative around Matt Painter right now is the inability to win in March. We know how good he is as a coach. It's the inability to win in March. It's really not all that different from what we talked about with Tony Bennett in 2018. It's exactly the same.
Right.
There's
a little more evidence with Matt Painter that dates back a little bit more.
With Virginia,
North Texas,
with Virginia,
Little Rock.
It wasn't the upsets against. It wasn't like losing to 13 seeds.
Right.
It was choking in the tournament. It was blowing a 15-point lead with 8 minutes left. It was being a number 1 seed and getting smacked by a number 4 seed Michigan, or number 17 Michigan State in the 2014 NCAA tournament. Right. It was things like that kind of built this this narrative around Tony Bennett. How does Matt Painter change that? How does Matt Painter get to the point where we are no longer saying, is it just he's got to get, is it a Final Four?
Yeah, I think
is
a Final Four is the first step, right? National title would be the erasure of this, right? Final Four is still, okay, you know what? That validates you. It just does. National title takes it to a next step. So, listen, the first step is getting that first win, because ultimately whatever you do in the regular season, if you're Purdue, it doesn't really, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like Calipari at Kentucky right now. You can win every game from here till the first round of the NCAA tournament. It'll help you for your seeding. It'll help you for your players gaining confidence, all of that. But ultimately, you got to win when it matters. You got to win that first weekend. That's where it starts for Kentucky. That's where it starts for Purdue, that first game. And then for Purdue, it's probably, hey, Sweet 16 isn't good enough for this team. Elite 8 isn't good enough.
Who has the most pressure on them, coach, heading into this
Painter.
into March?
Painter? Does. Yeah, because recency bias. I mean, obviously, again, you lost in the worst maybe fashion that any coach has ever lost in an NCAA tournament game. So I would say Painter.
Yeah. All right. Listen, we gotta get to a break here. On the other side, our Sunday superlatives. Who had the best game, who had the best win, and who had the worst loss in all of college basketball this weekend.
And driving with Miss Daisy.
Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do. Following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this. When Tom, and yes, I'm calling him Tom, we're on a first-name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all the college hoops content that you want in one place. Articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, content from your favorite creators. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank. As you level up in status on the app, like Marriott Rewards, like American Rewards, like Delta Rewards that I know you love, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap into the link in the description below to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast. It's really that simple. All right. Let's get into the Sunday superlatives. Jeff Goodman, Rob Dauster, Sirius XM, Channel 84, College Sports Radio, live from Hartford, the XL Center here.
Are we going for
UConn.
pizza on the drive home?
On the drive home, we're going to stop for...
which one in New Haven, by the way?
I would prefer to go to Sally's.
Okay.
And it's not pizza.
Because you are kind of a Sally.
It's not pizza. It's Abitz.
You driving? You're kind of like
can
a
you
Sally.
say Abitz?
No, I cannot.
It's not pizza. It's Abitz. But we can go to Sally's and get some.
Right.
We can go to Modern and get some. But you know what? You're a tourist, so we could probably just do Pepe's. That might be the best for you.
What is this?
You're a tourist.
I know pizza.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't. Trust me, I've seen what you eat. No, you don't.
Right.
Although that smoked meatball pizza we got last night
It was awesome.
from Union Station was
awesome.
fantastic.
I rated it. Did you see
got,
my rating?
I literally got one bite.
Did you see my pizza review?
I got one bite.
If you haven't watched my pizza review last night, it was phenomenal.
All right, we'll talk about the drive and the trouble that we had coming up here. But first, let's get into just some of the highlights of the weekend. So I want to start with this, Jeff.
Okay.
The best win. Who had the best win, the biggest win, the most important win? Like who? When you look back at this weekend, who stands out the most to you?
I mean, there were some good road wins, right? Like you look at it, and Utah State beat Boise. At Boise, I thought that was a very important one. Texas Tech goes to Norman and beats Oklahoma. You know, to me, here's one that I would say. I think Ole Miss going to Texas A&M is a huge one for Chris Beard.
That's a big one, yeah.
You know, here's the thing with Beard. Like, they hadn't really beaten anybody early. You know, he always plays kind of a week non-conference schedule. And this year it made sense. New program, bunch of new players. You don't know who's going to be eligible, who's not. They beat Memphis, and that was kind of their only win. And then they kind of stubbed their toe recently. But I think going in, not that Texas A&M is great, but they're pretty good. They're a tournament team. To go on the road and get that win for Ole Miss, I think said a lot. And to me, they got some good players, and they got a coach who, listen, he's elite. Mm-hmm. He's elite. He took Texas Tech to the championship game. He took them to the Elite Eight. He had Texas going. So I would say that one to me was a statement game for Ole Miss.
So there were two for me. For starters, you picked the wrong team in the SEC. The biggest win of the weekend in the SEC was Mississippi State.
Big one.
They're on the bubble. They were a team that needed a marquee victory. They were sitting at 2-4 in the SEC with a chance to go to 2-5, and they turned around and they beat Auburn at home. An Auburn team that has come back to earth a little bit, and they're looking.
Bruce told it to us.
They're looking.
He knew.
Yeah, they're looking a little more mortal than they were earlier on. But my biggest win of the weekend was Iowa State, and I think that Iowa State picking up a win to get to 5-2 in the Big 12 within a half game of first place with the Red Raiders that you just mentioned. Doing it against Kansas, doing it against another top 10 team. It is their second win against the top 10 team this season, and 8th win against the top 10 team in the last 2 years. And the fact that they were able to navigate the injury to Tamin Lipsey without really missing a beat, right? They won at TCU without Tam Lipsey, who's one of the best point guards in the Big 12. And they did it like they were up by 20 that game. They almost blew it. They almost choked it away.
You know what's crazy, too? So TJ Lance is the kid Ballou, who's like some consider like a top 10 freshman.
Mm-hmm.
The kid doesn't play at all. He didn't get in the game. He doesn't play at all. And he's not ready. You know, it's kind of like the Xavier Booker thing at Michigan State a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants you. Well, I mean, it's different for Iowa State because they're winning right now. So nobody's saying, like, why isn't he playing? But, again, what TJ Otzelberger has done, and make sure you go to our merch store, Wizard of Otz, great shirt, great T-shirt. Maybe we send Jerome Tang one of those.
Yeah, the wild thing about that is no, I did. Yeah,
okay.
No, I 100% got it, and I just moved right on by.
Why?
I just moved right on by. No, I think the wildest thing about you mentioned Omaha Blue is that it's not like an injury thing.
No, we just can't play.
And it takes some intestinal fortitude to do
days.
that with a kid that is as talented and as much of a 5-star and highly valued prospect as Omaha is.
Now, again, probably was misevaluated.
Well, here's the other thing. If you look at the way that Iowa State wants to play defensively, toughness, physicality, athleticism, like that fits Omaha perfectly. Yeah. But the freshman that's doing it is Milan Momcilovic.
Yeah, good job.
But very, very impressive win. Very impressive season from TJ Otzelberger, the Wizard of Oz so far. All right, best player this weekend. Best performance from a player. I know who you're going with.
Caleb Love.
You got to do it.
Caleb Love. No. 36 points. Efficient. Like when you say the words efficient and Caleb Love, whew, he was good. He was great. He wasn't good. He was great. And they needed it. Like they were coming off a loss in Corvallis to Oregon State. And they haven't been very good over the last month. And then he comes out there in Eugene. They haven't won there since 2015, almost a decade. And he carries the team. And as we talked about last night, Kai Boswell helped. But, man, when Caleb Love is on, there are few in the country. Who else? Give me another guy that you'd rather have with their A-plus game. Wade Taylor, maybe?
Another guard?
Anybody with their A-plus game.
No, when he shows up, like Caleb Love is the Caleb Love we saw last night is the best shot maker in college basketball, right? And Wade Taylor's really good. I would put his old teammate RJ Davis right there in that conversation.
Dillingham when he's on is fun. Maybe not quite as prolific.
You got the wrong. No,
it's not Antonio Reeves.
Dillingham is electric and is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's not Dillingham. Dalton Connect. The last 3 weeks
he's been awesome.
He's been the best player in college basketball the last 3 weeks. But I'm about to go right against what I just said.
Ahead.
Well, I think the best player this weekend was Antonio Reeves.
Okay.
And I think that the 24 that he had on the road in a game where Kentucky played like absolute dog. I'm not
dog doo-doo.
Yeah, dog doo-doo. We got in trouble for cursing too much last night.
You got in trouble. You cursed.
No, but they were horrible. They were like 1 for their first 17 from the floor. The freshmen looked like freshmen for the first time. Dillingham wasn't available. And Antonio Reeves came out and he had, I want to say it was like 19 of his 24 in the second half. And was just terrific. He made big shot after big shot after big shot. Trey Mitchell had a couple of big shots too, but Kentucky does not win that game if Antonio Reeves does not step up. He had 24 in a game where Kentucky could not do anything offensively. And for my money, he's having an All-American caliber season, right? He's averaging 19 points while shooting like 52, 43, 89 from the floor.
He's been awesome. He's been awesome. He's had to lead. That's the other part with this group. He's had to lead a young group. Now, that young group has been more mature than we thought they'd be, but it's not happening by accident. Like Antonio Reeves has come back, came back to school and is completely bought in.
Yep. All right. Worst loss of the weekend.
Worst loss of the weekend. I mean, isn't this like the easiest thing ever? Like, isn't there only one answer?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's Colorado State. No, there's no other answer. There's no other valid answer than Colorado State, who blew an 11-point lead with 1:10 left. I think they were up 5 with 10 seconds left, and they blew it against Wyoming. Rob, you can say whatever you want here. It doesn't matter. The correct answer and the only correct answer is Colorado State.
You're right. The one that I was going to go with was Nebraska. Nebraska is a team that is sitting right there on the bubble, that is kind of like Villanova in the sense where they need to start putting together performances on the road. Right? I'm sorry, kind of like Virginia, where they need to start putting together performances on the road. They go on the road, they play Maryland, who has not exactly been great this season.
No, but I think they make. Let's see what happens with Maryland here coming up.
They might make a run. They
Right.
might make a run.
I
And
think
they get mollywopped. Yeah. You know who else had a horrible loss?
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
That's a bad one because, again, Holtman's feeling some pressure from the fan base. They had a horrible season last year. Now, again, Holt's gone to the tournament every year, basically his entire career at Butler and Ohio State. But, you know, this pressure not only get to the tournament, but do something in the tournament. Now you might have 2 years in a row where you don't get there, and they started off 12-2. So that was a bad loss in Evanston.
You can't lose by 30 on the road in Big Ten play to anybody if you want to. You just can't do it.
Except
you can't lose.
Purdue, they're the only one.
You can't lose by 30 at Purdue. Like, you can. The problem is you can lose by 30 at Purdue.
Teams do.
Yes, teams do. But like, you shouldn't be doing it.
Anybody?
You know who loses by 30 at Purdue? Michigan.
Yeah,
that's about the only one that can do it. All right, the most meaningful win of the weekend. You already mentioned mine. You want me to go first? You already mentioned mine.
Go ahead.
I'm going with Utah State. Because Boise, what people forget about Boise State is that they had the nation's longest home winning streak until that got snapped earlier this season. But Utah State goes on the road.
Yep. They
beat Boise State in overtime on the road. They get a bucket at the end of regulation to force the overtime, and they are now 18-2, 6-1, all alone in first place in the Mountain West. Really, really impressive. I don't think we can say enough about Danny Sprinkle.
Yeah, it's a great one. I might go TCU, winning that game against Baylor. You know, you get a road
definitely
win,
the game of the weekend.
Road win.
Definitely the game.
3 overtime game. TCU, you don't know which way it's going to go in the Big 12, right? They had done well for a stretch. Then they've lost a couple. To get that one was huge because, again, you know, 2 losses can turn into 3, can turn into 4, and then before you know it, you're in a free fall. So that one to me was extremely important for Jamie Dixon and TCU. Their numbers are good, but I think ultimately they needed that one.
Yeah, they needed they couldn't lose that one. Look, the thing about these great leagues is that it can turn on you so quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly. 2-game losing streak turns into a 5-game losing streak like this. But the other side of it is that you can string those wins together.
Right.
You can string
a
those
lot
wins
of these
together.
leagues, Big Ten especially.
Yeah. Listen, we have a fun trip coming up next weekend. Okay. Yeah. It's the first weekend without college football, without professional football, without anything other than college basketball on the docket and on the schedule.
On Saturday.
Right. So there's no games on Sunday. It's the biggest college basketball weekend to date. We're going to be at Houston, Kansas, top 10 matchup. At Tennessee, Kentucky, top 10 matchup. Tyler Hansbrough is going to be at Duke, North Carolina, top 10 matchup. All 3 of us, representation from the 3 sides. The only place covering college basketball that's going to be at all 3 of those games. Listen, this has been a blast. Field of 68 after dark tomorrow night, 11 p.m.
UConn.